FM and kpft.org.
Support for this show, Politics Done Right, comes from politicsdoneright.com, publishers of How to Make America Utopia, Take Away the Economy from Those Who Rigged It, As I See It, Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom, It's Worth It, How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relatives, Friends, and Neighbors, and other books written by Egberto Willis. Welcome to Politics Done Right. My name is Egberto Willis, your host. Good morning, Houston. Good morning, Harris County. Good morning to the great state of Texas. And good morning to Northeast Texas, Southeast Texas, Northwest Louisiana, Southwest Louisiana, and to every Nick and cranny receiving the signals from our 100,000 watt transmitters, throwing those signals into every nook and cranny, to those magical boxes known as radios, aka the Howard Reynolds boxes. Anyway, folks, we're going to have a great show for you today. Welcome to our international community. Of course, receiving our signals via the internet, formerly known as ARPANET, controlled, configured, designed with your intellect, with your money, with your tax dollars, now controlled by a few, the billionaires, which we must wrestle back to you. Anyway, folks, before we get started, let's get to the geniuses, los genios, in the studio. Good morning, my brothers.
And good morning, Egberto. It is Tuesday morning at the radio, and Jack is stuck in his nook, so I'm going to have to go help him here.
Oh, he's stuck in his nook. Whoa, Jack.
He got stuck. I got stuck in the cranny earlier, but he helped me out. Then he backed up and fell into his nook.
Oh, it happens.
Yes, it does. I see you have a half a page of wisdom over here.
Well, I don't know if it's wisdom. It's a bunch of complaints.
Well, yeah.
As far as that goes. Good morning, Egberto. How are you?
Good morning, my brother. I'm here trying to adjust my camera, and I think I finally got it. The table was too far back. Yes! Anyway, how you doing, brother?
Oh, I'm dealing with old Robin Hood in reverse, I guess.
Oh, God, yes.
GOP robs from the poor to give to the rich. GOP wants to pay for tax cuts to the wealthy donors by cutting Medicaid and SNAP benefits. One word, despicable. To target cuts to the most vulnerable people in the society is dastardly. Those women with those small children is who these well-to-do politicians want to punish. Disgusting. They all need heart transplants or maybe a 12-step program.
Well, you do remember what happened to France when the elite became so elite and the poor became so poor. There was a revolution, and a few heads got cut off. Now, I'm not sure that I, are going to think about a revolution here, but something needs to be done.
Yeah, something needs to be done. You know what, Jack? I was going to start with Gaetz, but you make me want to start with what you're talking about. Damn it, Jack! You did it again. Damn. Okay. All right, look.
You said Gaetz, so I had to go.
I hear you, man. I hear you. But here it goes, folks. Soliloquy time. The Republicans would have you believe that most Americans are slouches. They'll have you believe that somehow the plutocracy, those people on top, they have to be watching every single American to make sure that you're out there busting your butt and working hard, and that everything that you ask for from we the people, your government, is a handout, and that no, you don't need any handouts. You need to go out there and work for it. Hey, look, I'm going to tell you something from somebody who's from Central America, from somebody who's been all over the world, from China to the Caribbean. Let me tell you something. The hardest workers I have ever seen in my life, bar none, are Americans. The least greedy people I've seen are Americans. But what is a problem is we are governed by psychopaths. And just like, we've heard about the good girl kind of having affinity for or kind of liking the bad guy when they're growing up. Sometimes you wonder, the good guy is sitting down there in class and, he treats the ladies well. And this, I swear I'm not being sexist. I'm just kind of hear me out. Some of the ladies kind of like the bad guys when they're growing up, but as they mature, they settle down and realize, you know what? The steady hand, the good person, the person who cares is what you want. That's how I look at America so often. Sometimes we go for that bad guy, guy being guy, or I mean, guy being male or female. Sometimes we go for that bad guy, not knowing deep inside that it's bad for us, but we keep doing it. Look, most Americans, I repeat, are hard workers. But most of the people who profit immensely, not the regular grocery store owner or the McDonald franchise owner or the Whataburger franchise owner or the Burger King franchise owner, they're fine. They have a few $1 million in their pockets. They're fine. They're good people. They hire, etc. But the real parasites in our economy, the real people that take advantage of all of you outside, all of you within our country, are those psychopaths, those billionaires. And yes, most of our billionaires are psychopaths. I mean, no one person has earned $1 billion, no one person can make $1 billion. It is all your what's known as excess labor. All the money they have is money denied you. But they would make you believe that they have some innate intelligence, some innate intellect that make them so good to be worth what they have. Because we have been programmed to believe that the way our economic system works is the best and is how things are rewarded. I am here to tell you it's not the case. When you go outside and you see that garbage man throwing the garbage into that truck, making minimum wage, making less than a living wage, and he makes or she makes your life more livable. Think of not having that person there and what happens to your street after a month, after a couple months. It becomes unlivable. Think about that person sweeping the floors. I mean, we have a tendency to believe we're worth more than we're worth. Oh, I'm an engineer. I make a lot of, well, not anymore, but engineers make a good amount of money, right? And you go out there and you go out of your office and there's a janitor there, and some of these guys would have a tendency to, look down at some of these folks, hey, I'm the engineer, I'm the lawyer, I'm the this, I'm the that. But get yourself in need of something and you realize how interdependent we are and how arbitrary what we pay, how we live really is. A teacher, the most important profession on the planet, bar none. I repeat, the teacher, the professor, these are the most important professions, bar none. They are the ones who move knowledge forward. Without the teacher, there ain't no engineer. Without the teacher, there ain't no doctor. Without the teacher, there ain't any of the things that make society move forward. Yet the way we partake of funds, the teacher doesn't come close to being valued as they should. But the stockbroker, who is nothing but again, by definition, I want you guys to not just take my words. Think about what the definition of, let's say, a parasite. A parasite is something dependent on something that is stable and sucks the life out of it, or sucks a lot. There are two kinds of parasites, right? There's a parasite that actually kills, and there's a parasite that is just dependent on. And in the case of the stockbroker, in the case of many professions that make a whole lot of money in our society because of the way we have defined things, these parasites are just dependent on but produce nothing. The stockbroker, dependent on but produces nothing. Many executives in corporations depend on but produces nothing. Yet they control our government, right? Because they pay the monies that they've stolen from you. And notice I've used the word stolen. And by the way, I mean that literally. The money they've stolen from you, they use and they bribe the politicians to get their will. So now that brother, and by the way, this is across party lines. I'm very frank. They both are owned by our corporate state. Every party is owned by our corporate state. Every single one. But the difference is, at least the Democratic Party gives you some crumbs. At least you get some crumbs, right? At least we got the Affordable Care Act that most Americans, even though they were for a while, the evil ones tried to make you believe that something good for you was not good. You got it anyway. And now you can't live without it. And we have the new people back in power again. And it's all on again, as Jack was pointing out, with SNAP and all these other programs. Do you really think SNAP is a problem or being abused? Somebody finds 2 or 3 people who go and buy steaks with their SNAP, or go buy all these expensive things with their SNAP. They highlight it, they make it a story, and they paste that on to every single person who's on SNAP, food stamps. But you know what? If you want to know where the people are on food stamps, and if you want to know how much food stamps really cost compared to the tax cuts that they're given to wealthy people who are undeserving, because said wealth was aimed or gotten on your back? No. But interestingly, we told you so. Before the election, we told you so. And I'm going to say we told you so. I think it is time for us to hold Americans accountable. We all have to be held accountable for our votes. But we told you so. Right now, and this is an article that Brother Jack was referencing. Remember, during the Trump administration, the first administration, he gave a huge tax cut. He made the tax cuts for corporations and wealthy people permanent. But the pennies, and notice I said pennies, because the tax cut that you got in the Trump administration, which was minute, few dollars a week, something you don't even see, was all eaten up by the increase in cost, not only by inflation. Well, every increase in cost is inflation. By the reduction that you got in services from your doctors, and the larger deductibles that you paid, etc. It was all eaten up. It was all eaten up by that. In other words, the little tax cut that you menial folks got, we menial folks got, that was all eaten up. And guess what? Whenever we say that was eaten up by the extra deductibles that you pay, the extra costs in food, etc., that was saying the following: we gave the tax cut to the wealthy, we gave a little tax cut to the middle class, we raised the prices on the middle class, and the rich people took the money right back from the middle class in the form of higher prices that ate up their tax cut and any wage gain that they got. So once again, our masters got us. And we live and we turn our butts and say, kick me one more time. Kick me one more time. At some time, America, we have to wise up to the game. We have to wise up to the game. They giveth and taketh away from the poor. They giveth and taketh away from the middle class. And it's only one class that makes it. You know, Dr. Theis, who, as part of the Houston Peace and Justice Center, we gave him an award, a Peacemaker Award, last weekend, and he came on to my 3 o'clock show, and we started talking about what's going to happen, etc. And he pointed out, we have to change the narrative. People don't like to hear that it's class warfare, but it is time for us now to acknowledge that we are in fact having a class warfare, and the middle class and the lower classes are losing. A bigger part of the pie continues to go to the wealthy, and this is by design. And this is by design. This is by misleading you, disinforming you, and you making the wrong choices. The choices that continues year after year to take what you have earned. To take what you have earned. It's hard to accept, but in many of the other soliloquies that I've done, I've pointed out that the techniques are well known. The techniques that the plutocracy uses, the oligarchy uses, the wealthy, the people who control our economy uses. It used all our insecurities to get it done. And in the case of the Kamala versus Trump election, they use to maximal effect gender, race, and the permanency of the patriarchy. This election had nothing to do with the economy. The economic message was simply a cover for people to be able to execute on their innate prejudices. That's the answer. All the complexities that you see on TV, the Democrats didn't come out with the right economic answer, and all these things, all of that is hogwash. None of that matters. It's all hogwash. But it turns out, I will say it once again, we told you so. And now that we have a new president elect, and now that the policy that he is going to effect on day one is coming to fruition, remember that is what we elected. Now, end of that part of the soliloquy, but I do want to go on to another piece of the soliloquy. That wasn't a part of the show today, but it just rang the bell. Donald Trump says he's going to start on day one the deportation, the disruption to get people out of the country. And now California farmers are starting to get worried because California produces about 25% of all our goods. And the kind of work that's required to produce all those vegetable goods, plant goods, etc., the truth of the matter is no matter what you pay, you can't get Americans to do that kind of work. Again, we've moved away from training people to do all kinds of works because we have exported everything and we have imported all kinds of things to solve what we've learned or taught people not to like to do anymore. And what that means if Trump is successful in starting this deportation, look, I mean, he's going to destroy his own administration by doing this, right? Because again, what's going to happen is it's going to be that prices are going to go through the roof because there's going to be like happened in Georgia when they started getting rid of people, and like happened in Florida, the construction industry is just about destroyed because of the immigration issue. And in Georgia, the peaches are left on the ground because of the immigration issue. It's about to happen throughout the country, assuming Donald Trump doesn't get paid off to just give a facade of throwing people out. Because remember, the man is a con man. I had on my show yesterday where I said, I am not really sure that the deportations are going to occur as you think. I think they're making a big hoopla out of it right now, and they are going to round up a few criminals that they call criminals to make a big picture out of it. And in the background, I think they will be taking bribes, and these are the bribes that they're going to take, in my opinion. This now this is opinion, folks. I separate opinion from facts. I separate opinions from facts. What I'm giving you now is an opinion, not a fact. It's an opinion. All right. My opinion is the following. Donald Trump is going to get paid off for the private sector to create detention centers, and that's going to be used as a cost center to enrich a few, to lock up a whole lot of folks that they can somehow say you're a criminal, or that doesn't have a marginal effect on our agricultural sector, where we actually need a lot of labor. So I think they're going to give a big hoopla to show that they're locking people up because they think you want to see that. They think you want to see us harm those immigrants that came over the border looking for a better life, that you want to get rid of them, that you hate them, that you want to do the non-biblical thing, that you when Jesus said open your hearts to these people, the evangelical Christians have said otherwise, against the Bible, of course. But you are going to want to get rid of those people, and they think that you want to see those people on buses and kicked and thrown into these detention camps. That's what they think you want to see, and they're going to make you see that. So they're going to enrich quite a few people by showing you that they can be evil to those others, those people that walked across the border. Number one. Number two, in the background, they will be taking bribes from the big agricultural industrialists. Hey, turn a blind eye, guys. Turn a blind eye. Let my people work and get the crop out. Turn a blind eye. I'll donate to your campaign. I'll donate to the RNC. I'll do all these things. Anybody doesn't think the possibility exists that this deportation machine is not about destroying the agricultural sector, because that is like hurting yourself, but to be in a position to bribe, to profit on somebody else's back. The typical thing the capitalist does. That is what again, folks, that particular part of my narrative is not fact. The first part was fact. This part is opinion. We'll see if it occurs. So, again, we told you so. We told you these are the machinations that were going to happen. And as we just showed from all reporting, it has started. His administration has not yet started, but you have to come into the administration with policy, and the policies that are out there are saying he wants to maintain the tax cuts, and he has to find the monies from somewhere, because again, the deficits and the way the financial sector is set up, he has to find the money somewhere. And that money comes from whom again? From you. all those benefits that you get, that adds up, and they have to get it from you. So my brothers and sisters in Appalachia who overwhelmingly supported Donald Trump, remember, you are the poorest part of this country. You are the ones receiving the most food stamps and other support from our government, and it is you who will be paying the price to ensure that these wealthy politicians or these wealthy industrialists, wealthy capitalists, wealthy oligarchs continue to get the tax cuts that they have gotten. And for all of you who said, hey, I voted for Donald Trump because he said he was going to not tax my tips. Let me remind you, if you've ever filled out your 1040 form or your 1040 easy or whatever, guess what, brothers and sisters? Your tips weren't taxed anyway. That was a promise not worth the money it was stated on. And let me tell you why your tips was never ever taxed. Your tips weren't taxed because every American citizen gets I think it's a $23,000 write-off up top, deduction up on your top line. And unless you make so much in tips that it pumps you into the $60,000 to $70,000 category of income, you didn't pay taxes on your tips anyway. So it was a promise that sounded good, but here's where the promise makes sense. When Kamala Harris said, I am going to also not tax tips, she made sure to talk about it being for service workers. But she made sure that stockbrokers couldn't use it. But guess what? That no tax on tip is just another leverage from the parasites that do no work in our economy. Not the server who serves you your platter at the restaurant, but for the guy who said, I am going to start making the income that I earn from helping you with your stock, from being your financial planner. That's now going to be a tip. Will you give me a tip? They didn't put a limit on the tip. And now I get a new tax break for millionaires. Folks, we continue to be played. And as long as we allow ourselves to be played, we'll continue to get played. All right. Anyway, folks, look, we're going to have a great show. The title of the show today, and wow, I'm not getting into the show till half into the show, but the title of the show is GOP. Jack, you see what you did, buddy? That's your doing, Jack. Anyway, GOP targets Medicaid, SNAP benefits. Well, we kind of talk about that, so it's not all. He didn't do all that bad. And the GOP senator who slammed Matt Gaetz cowardly bows to Trump. Okay, let's go ahead and play that video. And then after that video plays, I will be taking calls. 713-526-5738. Again, that number is 713-526-5738. Let me go ahead and throw that video on right now. Let's go ahead and get busy. There's a chance every single crackpot that Donald Trump so far has nominated to be in his cabinet or to run HHS or all these different agencies will get through. And the reason why is that none of the senators, none of them have any spine. They are, in fact, sycophants to the president, and they are more scared of the president than they are patriots. We know that Senator Markwayne Mullin actually thought that Matt Gaetz, the nominee for Attorney General, was a disgrace, was not only a disgrace, but an immoral character who committed crimes, who took underage kids over state lines, etc. And now, listen to what he has to say and listen to how he comes and appeases Donald Trump, how he comes and talk about Matt as if he is a normal guy. This is the problem with what we're seeing today. This is a problem why Donald Trump is likely to get all his nominees through. And let me tell you, earlier on, I did a piece about maybe the Electoral College could be right, given that the Electoral College, a dead clock can be wrong twice, a 12-hour dead clock can be right twice a day. Well, the Electoral College was wrong when it elected Donald Trump the first time. The Electoral College was wrong when it elected George Bush. And you know what? Maybe the Electoral College could do something right and prevent the disaster that is about to happen here. But listen to how Mullin has really, really changed over the last few days. Take a listen. We'll be right back.
Republican Senator Markwayne Mullin of Oklahoma. Senator Mullin, welcome to Meet the Press.
Thanks for having me on, Kristen.
Well, thank you for being here. I want to start with former Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz, who, of course, President-elect Trump, as we just said, announced this week was his pick for Attorney General. You have said you trust Mr. Trump's decision-making in naming Gaetz, but you have been critical of Gaetz as well. Here's a little bit of what you've had to say.
We had all seen the videos he was showing on the House floor that all of us had walked away of the girls that he had slept with. And he walked up to me as Chrissy Nolan, now Governor Chrissy Nolan. He said, man, she's a fine, and you can put the B word in place there. This is the type of individual Matt Gaetz is.
So, Senator, you clearly have questions about Matt Gaetz's character, but do you believe that Matt Gaetz is qualified to serve as Attorney General?
You know, there's no question that Matt Gaetz and I have had our differences, and that's no secret. Moving forward, I do respect President Trump's the right to appoint these individuals, but underneath Article 2, Section 2, Congress has to advise and consent, and Matt Gaetz is going to go through the same scrutiny as every other individual, and I'm going to give him a fair shot, just like every individual. And at the end of the day, the Senate has to confirm him. I do think it's a very, very tough role. I've got a tough situation that I've got to set my personal opinions, and they're really not opinions. I got to set my personal situation with Matt to the side and look at the facts. If he's qualified, he's qualified. I be quite frank, I didn't even know he was an attorney until after he was appointed Attorney General, and I had to do my research on him. And I know that's crazy because I served with him, but I just never did the dig to find out actually his actual degree, what it was in.
Well, and speaking of digging into his background, the House Ethics Committee was about to release the findings of its investigation into allegations of misconduct by former Congressman Gaetz. Of course, he abruptly resigned before that could happen. A number of your colleagues, including members of the Senate Judiciary Committee, have said they would like to see that report. Should the House Ethics Committee release that report, Senator?
Absolutely, and I believe the Senate should have access to that. Now, should it be released to the public or not? That's I guess that will be part of the negotiations, but that should be definitely part of our decision making. Once again, I go back to it in Article 2, Section 2 in the Constitution. The Senate has to advise and consent these individuals. And in that process, we're going to give Matt Gaetz the same chances we'll give all President Trump's nominees. And by the way, I do believe that President Trump has the ability to pick some really, really good people. You can see why he's been successful in business, why he was successful in running his campaign, because he surrounds himself with the right people. So I have no doubt that President Trump believes that Matt Gaetz is the right person to do the right job. But at the same time, the background of Matt Gaetz does matter, and what the decisions that the Senate makes has to be within our boundaries of the constitutional authority that we have, and we will do our due diligence there. And I'll say this: Matt will be treated the same as every nominee out there, from myself and every other senator out there.
And you say background matters. I want to ask you about his views. Here's a little bit of what Matt Gaetz had to say last year about the very law enforcement agencies that he is poised to be tapped to oversee. Take a look.
We either get this government back on our side, or we defund and get rid of, abolish the FBI, CDC, ATF, DOJ, every last one of them, if they do not come to heel.
Senator, do you support getting rid of the FBI, the DOJ under any circumstances?
No, I actually agree with what Matt was saying there. As hard as that is for me to say that, I actually agree with him, because what he's saying is they were either come to the side of the American people and quit playing politics. The DOJ and the FBI has been politicized. There's no question about it. We've seen what they've done to President Trump. We've seen the attacks that they continue to go after him with. The DOJ is 100% weaponized. You saw the FBI and the fake Russia hoax. You saw the FBI shielding the Biden family.
Well, and worth noting, of course, Hunter Biden has now been convicted on federal charges. The charges that were brought against President-elect Trump were brought by...
Absolutely, yes, to get there.
Let me ask you broadly, though, do you support the president-elect telling his attorney general to prosecute, to go after people he considers to be his political enemies?
The president didn't say that. That's being taken completely out of context. And President Trump hasn't been the one that weaponized the DOJ to go after his political enemies. President Trump did not do that when he was in office the first 4 years. He could have clearly done that against the Clintons if he wanted to. He didn't. Who did weaponize the DOJ was the Biden administration. We saw them continuously going after President Trump.
Senator, it's worth noting there's absolutely no evidence that President Biden had anything to do with the federal charges brought against President-elect Trump.
Now, can you believe that? Does that make any sense? You have to sit back, and these are grown men. And Donald Trump is an inept, immoral criminal. And these guys acquiesce to everything that he wants, everything that he does. And it's not like he won this electoral landslide where people are going to love him. The fact of the matter is, folks, a lot of people didn't vote. A lot of people didn't vote. Are you willing to destroy the country out of your fears? We have a lot of work to do. And progressives, we have to engage. We cannot disengage now. More than ever, the country needs what we're doing. And folks, we have to support those of us doing this work, because more than ever, this is what we need to get done. And you know what is interesting? What is interesting is this guy had the nerve to say, I can see why Donald Trump is a successful businessman. 6 bankruptcies, never made a dollar. I mean, the misinformation, disinformation, and that they put out there, and the gullibility of too many. That is sad. Let's go to Steve. And by the way, folks, you can give me a call, 713-526-5738. I'm taking calls now, 713-526-5738. Come on in, Steve.
Hey, morning, brothers and sisters.
Good morning, my brother.
Morning. Where is sober America? So I voted for Trump just because I was drunk. I was drunk
Okay.
I was drunk on being a separatist. I was drunk on propaganda. I was drunk on misogyny. And I know in a couple of years the hangover is coming. So that's I think our country is like perfectly situated right now as a soup for our strings to be pulled, for us all to be puppets. We're 75 million one way and 74 million another way. So, why not keep the Americans drunk and misinformed, right?
I mean, look, the thing about it, Steve, is a lot of this is by choice, right? And the reason we do it by choice is we allow them to play on our prejudices, right? I mean, I don't know, people want to make this election more complicated than it really is, right? We are still a country with a high percentage of prejudice, all right? And prejudice is a stupid thing, all right? It's a silly thing, but it's still a functional thing. And one of my best phrases is when we unite Appalachia, the ghettos, and the barrios, stereotypical as it is, the reason I preach that message all of the times is if we can get rid of those prejudices, those separations, then they can't pit us against each other to get the outcomes that they want that screws us all. Okay? And that is where and that is what we have to fight. That is where we have to really unite. And it's, we get there and then we blow it. We start to get there and then we blow it. And we blow it because we have a lot of charlatanes out there that continue to promote that message. And then there are things that happen that expand on that message. We look at the immigration problem and we turn that immigration problem into a fear. And what is the thing that the carnality causes? What do humans do when they get scared? They react and they do irrational things. That is what we have to get away from. Get rid of the fear, start the unity, and then we'll get the policies that we want. Anything else, Steve, you want to say?
Oh yeah, I mean that would be beautiful, but Egberto, it might take decades and decades for that because you have to re-educate out of a culture of being drunk. You came to America back in the 60s and 70s. It was our culture to be out there and love and unite, but also be drunk. So
I came here in like 1980, and let me tell you, when I came here at near the end of what I would call a successful progressive movement. In other words, we had started to we really started to get educated. I mean, think about it. We started to look at people for people. A lot of things that we used to do, we stopped, right? And then when the 80s came and we got Reagan, we got a way of not thinking logically. We started to think logically back in the 60s and 70s, right? And things started to improve. And then we fell right back to, let's do the easy thing. It's easy not to think critically. It's easy not to do a lot of these things. And we fell back on that. But anyway, Steve, thank you so kindly for your call, my brother.
Lots of love. Have a good one.
You too, my brother. All right, let's go to Brian. Come on in, Brian.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning. How is everyone?
Oh, we're doing fine, sir. Talk to me.
Okay, why does the left wing continually repeat the same lies about Trump?
I don't know what you're talking about, but maybe you want to enlighten me.
Okay, he said that he killed millions of Americans due to his bad COVID policy, right?
I didn't say, no. Whoa. 1 point something million Americans died. Yeah.
Okay.
1 point something million died, yes.
Okay, and it was due to his bad policies, correct?
Absolute, no doubt whatsoever.
Okay, how many hours did it take for him to shut down international travel between China and the United States when he found out that the origin of the cause was Wuhan, China? How many hours did that take?
First of all, that is not how it happened. So your question is misinformed. That's not how it happened at all. Let me tell you how it happened. You can go to the book that was written because we have it on tape. We have on tape what Donald Trump did with regards to COVID. We have his recordings of his talk with I forgot the name of the reporter. So you're off base already. The fact of the matter is he wanted to throw it under the towel. He knew it was bad and he held off and held off and held off. We have his voice on tape.
Completely incorrect. Completely incorrect. It was 4 hours. He shut down international travel. The very next day, Nancy Pelosi came out and had a hot pot lunch in Chinatown and called Trump a xenophobe.
Okay, Brian, I'm not going to let you come on here and simply talk. Like I said, Brian, hold on. Like I said, it's on tape. I'm not going to let you come here and gaslight when we actually have tape of Donald Trump and how long he held back after. Again, we have him on tape with his interview, and I'm not going to let you gaslight. So we'll talk another time when you're ready to listen to facts. We'll talk another time. Patrick, come on in.
Well, I had a few things to talk about, but I'll address Brian first. Progressive president or a president that really gave a crap about anybody would have initially, when it hit New York and it hit, I think it was Washington, would have closed those states down right away. But the economy was more important. And then because the economy was more important, he couldn't be honest with people. We had a pandemic that killed about 3% of the people it infected, which actually could have been considered a good thing if it was handled properly, because it would have been a dry run for one that's coming that might take 20 or 30% of people. But instead, we decided to act like children and pretend that nothing was happening and that we could treat ourselves with bleach and that we didn't need to listen to CDC and the World Health Organization. And we endangered the entire world, Brian, not just us, the entire world. We fared worse than any other developed country with COVID. How do you explain that if you don't include leadership in the explanation? You couldn't be more far gone and more wrong. I don't understand how your mind works. But on to Matt Gaetz. Matt Gaetz, because we can look back, he became a proponent for marijuana. And when a Republican becomes a proponent for marijuana, I get suspicious. And I looked over his legislation, and he intentionally crafted legislation that would only qualify his family members. A nursery that was working open for 70 consecutive years or something was written into the law. That meant only his family members would have qualified for growing marijuana. So he was actually trying to go mafia style and corner a illicit drug in a market. Next,
it is all. Hold on, Patrick. It is all hypocritical. Even I don't remember if you remember former speaker, but Baines. What's his name? Former, that the one that always cries. That former speaker, he's now on the board of a marijuana company. It's all whenever they can make money, their morals change. But continue, sir.
I was going to touch on the immigration. I was managing restaurants during the right after 9/11, and they quote unquote tried to get serious about immigration, and it fell apart right away. I had employers telling me, "Hey, take any ID that'll work. Don't even worry about whether the gender matches or anything." And then a lot of human rights organizations got together and they started videotaping places like meat processing places, and they would have it was perpetual hiring and firing. They would have people taken off in a bus, and there would be 40 or 50 people waiting to get hired. They did that for years, and they all that accomplished was it harassed and drove people. It did nothing but harass people. It did nothing for the economy, and it wasted our tax money.
It's inhumane. It's inhumane. To put it bluntly, it's inhumane. The truth of the matter is, these people are an integral part of the economy, not because actually, guess what? The economy needs them. The economy needs them more than, again, I always said, wait. I don't think it, when I have my second thoughts, I don't think it's going to happen. I think what's going to happen is the reason why they're putting so much emphasis on day one, we're going to start throwing people out, is to lay the foundation when nothing happens, right? We're going to make a big deal out of showing those MAGA we're really sticking it to those darn illegal immigrants. We're sticking it to them, and they're going to make a big issue up front about it before it attenuates during growing season, when the farmers need all the labor, where the restaurants need all the labor, when mom and pop in suburban America need somebody to take care of their kids. Because I live in Kingwood right now, and half the folks that are getting their kids taken care of, etc., are, guess what? Undocumented workers that they don't pay the salaries that would have had to be paid to the high school students if they were one doing the work. So it is a joke, and I tell you, it is a it is a joke that we're all going to reckon with, Derek. Patrick.
Yeah, we've got a 500,000 deficit housing apparently in the United States, and 75% of our construction force is undocumented. So
Let me correct something, though. Let me correct something, okay? Because that number is dubious. Because what we've had is the corporate sector bought up a lot of empty homes. We go to LA, there's enough rooms in LA available to throw everybody that's on the streets into a home. But these are owned. I mean, what people don't understand is how the corporate sector have corrupted the home market by buying things up, leaving it empty to jack the prices up, creating what's called a false scarcity is what's going on in the real estate market. Go ahead, sir.
Oh, I agree and totally understand that they use homes as commodity, and that in itself is a bit inhumane. People will make money on an investment, but people 20 years younger than me will never own a home.
Exactly.
That was a part of the dream. I'm kind of wondering what's left of the American dream now that billionaires have picked apart this economy and left bones.
We are going to have to rebuild it. The thing about it is for us not to say what's left of the American dream, but for us to hold it by the bullhorns and take it back. But Patrick, I got Derek on the line. So what we have to do, Patrick, is we have to take it back. We got to hold it by the no, I shouldn't even say take it back. We got to take it. But again, we have to first, I wrote this article called, we have to first assert our worth, because we have to realize that we are worthy of all of this. The billionaire are the parasites. When we learn to accept the truth that we are the ones who work in this society and the billionaire class are the ones that are the parasites on our labor, then we'll get somewhere. Thank you very much, Patrick. See you at 3. Got to go to Derek. Thank you, brother.
Sure.
Derek, talk to me.
Hey, good morning. All I can say is that, like what we said during the campaign, Donald Trump reflects America.
Yes.
There's no accident that people are turning a blind eye to what Matt Gaetz is doing. And let me say this here, man. Since they love putting caricatures on people, Matt Gaetz reminds me, if you look at him in the way his mannerism and the way he moves and speaks, he reminds me of Sonic the Hedgehog. If you look looking at one, and that's all I call to say. Bye.
Derek, you're terrible. Derek, you're terrible, man. No, but look, let me tell you, Derek. I want to put a corollary on to Donald Trump reflects America. Donald Trump reflects what America think it needs to be. I want to be a bit more generous in that regards. A lot of Americans believe they need to be like Donald Trump. I mean, there is this. Okay, when I talk to thousands of folks via the internet, I talk to hundreds of people in person in any given month. Okay, and most people, bar none, whether Republican, Democrat, Latino, Arab, white, black, whatever, you get a person one-on-one and you get to their inner core. What you do realize, and I mean this to the depths of my heart, that most people are good. Most people are good. Externalities, Brother Derek, is what changes us, right? Externalities, things on the outside that are put into us, right? But when you get to a person one-on-one and you start speaking to them on a human level and they speak to you on a human level, our humanity manifests itself. It's the externalities that creates the problem. And that's why if you get a chance to just talk to people and ignore what you know comes from the external, you can actually make progress. But thank you very much, Brother Derek, for calling in. And we got to start wrapping this baby up.
Yes, sir.
Anything else you want to say real quickly?
Yes. Yes,
Oh.
I do. Spanish, the Hispanic, the move that he's getting ready to make on the Hispanic is going to be made manifest. A lot of the Palestinians who sat back and said that they weren't going to vote in a form of protest, and now he's talking about giving Bibi everything he needs, that's going to be manifest. So, we can talk on the external, but for the most part, what you did internally, you really kind of signed your own death warrant. So
Exactly. And that's why earlier in my monologue, I said, we told you so. And usually it's not too polite to say we told you so. I think we probably need to start saying we told you so. But thank you so kindly, Derek, for your call.
Thank you.
All right. Anyway, folks, let me go ahead and throw it to the studio. See if Brother Jack has anything to say, given that he changed the trajectory of
Okay.
the
Here,
program.
let me move the microphone over to Jack.
But I changed it in a good way.
Yes, you did. That's why I love you, man. But you did.
Right. Yeah, it's just, you post your stuff and I try to just put it into some different words is all. And I ain't got nothing to say about it right now.
Well,
folks,
let me tell you.
Egberto, I want to go back to one of your points that you made earlier.
Yes, sir.
Once they the illegal aliens and put them all in concentration camps, those are going to be work camps for the corporations to buy labor. And then, but still, that's another added cost to things, to where your prices are going to go up. Donald Trump is not going to do anything good for you. He doesn't care about you. I don't know how many times I've said this. He doesn't care about you. He only cares about himself and his image. So, once again, you elected the wrong person, and that's all I've got to say.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, brother. It is so important that, look, we are here to enlighten and also be enlightened. Let me just be frank, because sometimes somebody calls in here and they, hey, Berta, did you know this? And it's like, oh, no, I didn't. And you give me stuff to go research, or you give me stuff to expand about. That's what we have to do. Anyway, folks, I got to get out of here. The rest of the show, videos, etc., are at politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. It is at politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. Look, I love you all, callers, listeners, even those who disagree with me. Brian, I love you, man. But please, I want to tell you, listen sometimes and go research off of what I've said, just to convince yourself as well. My name is Egberto Willis. This is Politics Done Right, and you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out.
You're listening to the American Democracy Minute, keeping your government